Okay, so welcome to this amazing Facebook Live Zoom combination video. Hey Mel, how are you? I'm here today with, Melanie Claire O'Connor. Welcoming to this amazing, this is the 10th in our series of the 2020 downloads. And yeah, hey Mel, how are you? Really good to have you on.
Good, lovely to be here. Happy to be here and have a conversation and see where it goes.
Yeah. And so where are you calling from today?
I'm over on the west coast of Ireland, where I live with my husband, and yeah, just off a small surf town called Lahinch. And yeah, we've been living here for about 4 years now, and just enjoying the different pace of life and the connection with nature, which has been really beautiful and very, very helpful for, I suppose, a lot of the work I do. Because it's very energetic, it's very emotional. So being able to ground it down into Mother Earth is very helpful. Yeah.
Amazing. And you haven't always lived in Ireland though?
No, obviously my accent. I grew up in Australia, born in Oz. Yeah, so I moved over here about 2013. So that's almost 7 years now. 7 years now? 8 years now?
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's quite a while, hey?
Yes. Yeah, move halfway around the world for love, but it might tie in nicely with if we're talking about that conversation about reflecting on the last decade. There was definitely a piece that I just wrote down. I was just sort of feeling into the interview today and feeling into the energy of these series and just letting come through what came through. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. There is a bit of a reflection on the decade coming through there. So.
Well, I'm really excited to hear what's there for you tonight as we get into it. So I'll start with the first one. It's kind of a pre-question.
All right,
but it's who is Melanie Claire?
Who is Melanie Claire? We're starting with the big ones, aren't we?
Yeah.
Who is she? And it was interesting. I was actually having a conversation with someone yesterday about it and connecting into the reason why we are here. And Melanie Claire, the name actually means, and I used to wonder when I was a little girl that why my mother would call me Melanie, which is a name that means darkness. But then I was the child that was born with the dark hair and dark eyes, and also the black sheep of the family, so it kind of fits. But also it was when I realized, and I was in a personal development seminar and realized what Claire means is it means light and bright. So it was like this penny drop moment that the name actually means the light and the dark, the polarity, the yin and the yang, which is the essence of the work that I do. So I was like, oh, that's kind of fitting.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
Sometimes these things can be blessings.
It's actually so amazing for me, like what's in a name. And I know that there's often a trend to bring in these new innovative names for kids a lot of the times, but then I see some of these names and you search back through history or the threads of time and they've got these meanings that have their own resonance that's endured, and it's kind of like there's something in that too, right? So yeah, I really love that.
Absolutely. And my husband's name's Owen, and Owen is the Irish spelling of Owen, which is Eoin. And a lot of those Gaelic names and the Celtic names, they have a lot of that depth in it. And his name literally means gift from God. So, yeah, he is for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So what is it that Melanie Claire does in the world?
What don't I do? What does the name itself, Sabu, probably means about teaching people how to embody both the light and the dark aspects of themselves for the purpose of their own personal gain, but also the expansion of global consciousness. So this idea that there is more to us than just this one on the surface, and the transcending this idea that there is good and bad, right or wrong, right? And I think we are definitely in a time, and I'm noticing it for myself, where I was sort of pulling people out of this sort of 3D fear story. And now I'm like, you know what, it's just about owning it and, you know, sharing this higher perspective of what's truly possible in the world when you live from a place of nothing is wrong. There is no good, bad, or any. It's all is what it is. And when we quit the judgments that so a lot of people have judgments around these things are bad, these things are good. Whereas it's like, no, it's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. And you get to choose what you focus on. Like to bring in more of it in that sort of way, I guess. Yeah. We got a few people tuned in. It's awesome.
Choose. Oh, that's lovely. I can't see, but hi. What we can also do is we can choose what we make it mean as well. So whatever it is, and we can look at anything from what's happening globally or what's happening personally. And I know there's probably some people I know on the line, and I know for sure there are some people in the world right now who need a miracle, and we can always choose what we make it mean. Yeah.
So my head's like, go into the interview questions, and then I'm like, tell me more about miracles. So what does a miracle mean for you?
What does a miracle mean for me? Miracle is a shift in perspective. Well, this is from A Course in Miracles. A miracle is a shift in perspective from fear to love. It's just about a choice to see things differently. And it's the belief really that the situation itself is neutral and that we put all the meaning that we make on things. So we can either always have the choice to see things through a fear-based perspective or a higher love-based perspective. And based on what our perspective is, will dictate or inform what we experience. So what that means is it's your perspective dictates your experience, and that we have actually power and choice over that. And so it is a really beautiful thing because there's always a way to see whatever you're going through differently. And the miracle is just what happens when you choose to see things differently. So sometimes that shows up for people in very tangible things, like, oh, there's an experience of lack in your life. You ask for a miracle, the money comes in. It can be you're in a fighting situation with your spouse and you ask for a miracle, and then there's more harmony in the relationship, right? Or it could just simply be seeing the gift in your present circumstances. Yeah.
And I think for sure, looking at this decade ahead, there's a lot of people that come in with a bit of a, everything is so problematic that maybe the miracles all that's left. And I probably don't want to necessarily answer that or dive into it. We'll open the questions, but it's a really thought-provoking question at this turn of the decade kind of moment to look at what is it we need. And I know a lot of people are focused on this miracle kind of as a way forward. So we're going to start by looking back.
Okay.
And the first question is, what did you love most about 2019?
What did I love most about 2019? Stepping into my power and owning it, for sure. And in all the ways that showed up, in my health and well-being, in my spiritual practice, in the work that I was stepping into and doing, in setting boundaries, and also in my love relationship and getting married. So it was all this stepping into, the whole theme of it was stepping into my power. So for sure, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the next question is a little bit larger frame, but what are you grateful to have ended in the past decade?
Yeah. Leaving my painful past behind, for sure. For sure. I know that I started the decade in 2009 after being date raped. And that was how I started this decade, being raped, this past decade. And so for me, from there, it was this catalyst for change in my life. It put me on a spiritual path because I would open the door to spirituality and healing in that regard. It opened my vision for what I truly wanted. And so while, like a lot of people, I believe that there is nothing beyond the realm of forgiveness in humanity, nothing. And so for this, it taught me, like, now gratitude. I'm not, the thing people think, you don't say you're grateful for being raped or abused or anything. What you do say is you're grateful for what you learnt from it. And so for me, what that catalyst created in my life, I am grateful for who I've become from it, if that makes sense. And that's always a choice. Like we sometimes we don't choose what happens to us, but we do choose how we respond, what we make it mean, and who we choose to become. So it was definitely a shakeup. And I set some pretty big, outrageous visions after going through that I seemed so big and ridiculous that it seemed so far out of what I thought was possible. But that was what I was committed to. And that's where I am. So there you go.
So you're somewhere that was once big and ridiculous.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things that's so amazing. You look back 10 years and like, I don't know what it's like for you, but I have this experience of, I had no way of knowing who I would become. Like I look at just the shift, the growth, and like I might have wanted elements of it, but I guess the becoming and then the nuance and the complexity or the joy or all the journey of it, like I had no way to pick that. Like not really. Yeah. Like, and it's sort of, it's an interesting thing looking forward, because it reminds me that looking forward at 10 years, we don't know. Like you could become any version of yourself that you ever wanted to be in that 10 years.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's widen the scope a little bit. And the next one is, what do you think we learned as a collective last year?
Oh, I've seen this a lot in a lot of healers and emerging leaders and people who their purpose is to do this work, like raising consciousness of humanity, helping people in the way that their gifts are guiding them to help people. There was a real shakeup in a lot of, like a death and a rebirth. There's a lot of people like with stuff dying off, and then these new budding ideas coming into being. So I noticed that was true for a lot of people that I saw. And, just these things where the things that were working stopped working for a lot of people, or it was working, but not on the level that they're being called for. And I've seen it like time and time and time and time again. So I think that's what a lot of people were really going through. Yeah, because it's the dying off of the old and the awakening of the new.
And what do I want to say? If we flesh that one out a little bit more, what's some ways that, like, if people feel like they're a little bit still experiencing some of that death and rebirth, is that gonna? Do you think that's gonna hang around for a while? Like, how can we make sense of that or work with that? Yeah. Like, from the tools you've got, how do we work with that kind of challenge? Or
what's falling away and what's coming into being, for sure. Well, it's linked in really nicely with what's happening later today, and for you guys in Australia tomorrow morning with the lunar eclipse that's coming. It's a completion of completion cycle. So it's a completion cycle within a bigger completion cycle. So what is happening is 2019 people were like, oh, shit's not working, right? Oh, like a lot of people had that, this isn't working, and then challenges in certain areas of their lives, and then and then finding this new way of working. And for some people, they didn't find that new way of working and it's still not working for them. And I've seen it. So this is an opportunity to say, I'm done with it. I'm complete with it. So there was a sort of a bit of a like accelerated completion cycle happening for a lot of people between sort of the end of September and today or tomorrow if you guys, the lunar eclipse. And so there's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm noticing it. Like I've had, it's solar plexus energy, it's heart chakra energy, it's third eye, it's crown chakra. It's a lot of them being cleared out and cleansed. So a lot of people probably last year and even in this last quarter, perhaps even in this week, there has been a lot of people wanting, like I've been upping all my detox stuff this week and doing all the detox stuff that I do, and cutting out sugar and cutting out all alcohol, and just doing my my what do I do? Apple cider vinegar in the morning, all of that sort of stuff, because we're really like clearing and completing, and it's a powerful opportunity. This is the time where you say, all right, you know, there's a lot of people have been like, yeah, I want to complete this, I want to complete this, and it keeps repeating. Whereas if you make a strong commitment today and you let it out over the next 24 hours and you take some space for it, you're going to get an acceleration of it, because it's a completion of completions, both in this sort of like 3 months-ish cycle, and also thinking about themes that were coming in towards sort of like February 2015. So it's like this 5-year completion as well, and what was going on in 2015. And I'm noticing it's just like it's coming to the surface, because it's like, all right, gather all the lessons from this, let's put this down, and let's go into 2020 new. So yes, there's going to be elements of that, but this next 24 hours, accelerated point, more so than even some of the other ones. So, and we're seeing this as a collective. So it's really, really important, the energy that you bring to this next 24 hours. Super, super important, especially with what's going on down there in Australia as well.
Yeah.
And around the world, like with the fires that are going on. The best thing in this next 24-hour window that you can do is bring love to it. Like if you bring love to it, like it's when I was feeling into the energy of this series, I was like, okay, what's the insights that's coming to me to share? And it was really like with what's happening this next 24 hours, which is why I was so excited about us doing it today. And is that these times, especially right now, is calling us to take a look at our energy, our time, and our resources, and really be radically honest about the way that we're spending them. And so being very mindful of where we're acting from fear, being very mindful of where we're acting from love, because any actions born of fear will create more fear, and that's going to be amplified today. Any actions that are born of love or faith will create more faith, and that will be amplified today. So just my call is just be very mindful of the ways you're spending your time, your energy, and your resources, not giving fear to what's happening, but choosing love. And then like what action am I being called to take with my energy, my time, and my resources towards this healing? And that's the best work that we can do. So that would be my call to everyone down there in Australia, is give love to what's happening. And give love in your time, give love in your energy by literally sending energy, and give love with your resources. So not give money from a place of fear, give money or time or energy or any of your resources from a place of love, because that will make a difference. Yeah.
Amazing. And if someone was really wanting to work on some of that, with the completion in a reflective way, is there a question or a prompt that would actually really help them to journal or, sort of meditate on? Kind of thing would help.
I'm a big believer in that I'm a big believer in our own questions, our own answers.
Yeah.
And so I can give you questions, but I would want you to make it your own, because it's not going to be 100% aligned unless it comes from you. So just anything where you're saying, what am I being called to release? What no longer serves me? And how can I create more space for what I'm truly aligned for next? So what am I being called to release? What no longer serves me? And how can I create space for what I'm truly aligned with calling in next? Like that will kind of guide you. But I would just be like sitting in meditation and see what comes to you, and just be mindful of what's surfacing. And the thing I would say is literally do a review of the way you're spending your energy, your time, and your resources, right? That would be the big thing that I'd be doing for everyone. How are you spending your energy? How are you spending your time? How are you spending your resources? What ways have you been spending your resources that actually don't align or serve you? And then what ways will actually serve me more to be spending those energy, time, and resources? So that would be the essence of it, I'd say, but go where you feel guided always.
Yeah. And I suppose if I was to I guess I'm just like looking at my head and my patterns around a few things is like making it practical, looking at like if you've like checking my double standards a little bit. So if I'm like, oh,
Mm,
I don't have time for blah 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 that I want to do, but then I'm, tuning out or watching Netflix or all these things that are not, they kind of have happened, to me in a way. So it's looking at, if I got to choose it exactly as I wanted, am I living that? And sort of
yeah.
just create that
Hmm.
sort of alignment. Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gonna do that
I'm
one.
also looking at not giving any more power or energy to the lower version of myself. The wounded. You give it love and you mother the wound, but I'm like no longer giving it power. And so I'm like thinking about, all right, how do I come from the highest version of Melanie that I can access right now? Or even like, where am I going this year, 2020, December? How can I bring that closer to now? And how can I step into that version of me? And how would she show up today? And doing all those kind of things as well.
Yeah.
Get a bit of a fast track. Why not?
Yeah. Which is nice. That sort of leaning forward rather than being held back in a sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, next question is, what's the
All right.
most important leadership trend that you saw rising over the last decade?
Oh, authenticity. Authenticity. Mm-hmm. Authenticity and transparency. Being real with who you are. And but some people have a bit of a misconstrued idea of what authentic leadership looks like,
Mhm.
and they think it means airing their dirty laundry online. And it's a part of it, but I feel like that's that's like that's not in your leadership when you're doing that. There's a difference between, I talk it like a bit of a pendulum swing. You go from, there's the alignment, which I call like your authentic sharing from a place of authentic leadership. And then you've got a pendulum swing over to complaining, or a pendulum swing over to airing dirty laundry, right? It's not either complaining or airing dirty laundry. It's not from a place of power. Sometimes airing dirty laundry is that rising up into anger. Cool. Just don't stay there, go up another level, because like power is above anger in terms of like energetic frequencies. So I've seen that definitely stepping into your authentic leadership, which is, here is my experience and I take full ownership and acceptance of all of this. Whereas if you're airing dirty laundry, you're not in acceptance of it. If you're complaining, you're not taking ownership of it. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So like that, and we're all in our journey with that. And so please don't, if you know, I do it, I've gone into complaining, I've gone into airing dirty laundry, like we all do it. It's not about judgment, it's just about a course correction. It's like, oh, yeah, that's a bit of airing dirty laundry. My bad, that post wasn't 100% in alignment. Forgive myself, get back in, right? So it's not about like judging ourselves where we get off track. It's actually, oh, I'm off track. Like I was using this analogy in something else I was doing, can't remember what, but in Australia with like the flags, and on Surf Life Open Beach, like if you swim in the flags, you know you're going to be safe or whatever. But what happens is, especially in Australia, there's a lot of those side currents. So you go in between flags, but then you drift out. And it's people don't go, oh, and they beat themselves up because they've drifted out of the flags. They're like, oh, I'm out of the flags. You'll realign and get back in. So it's just, that's why I wanted to say is because you'll get yourself stuck if you go, oh, I didn't do it right again. Oh, I didn't do it right again. Right? Yeah. It's, adjustment, right? I'm owning and I am in acceptance of what I'm sharing. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've seen rising, and I think we need a lot more of, because people, when they get that, they feel permission to be themselves.
Yeah. And just on the same question kind of thread, but who are some leaders you've seen that really demonstrating that?
Oh, good question. I mean, not everyone's going to agree with my examples.
Of course, of course. Like,
yeah,
go for it.
Because you're going to see in a leader what's in you. So this is people's own examples of this are probably going to be a more effective reflection for them. But I like Gabrielle Bernstein. I think she does it well. She definitely, when she shares from a place of ownership and acceptance of all of it. And I think she's great. Oprah Winfrey's always amazing. Like Oprah Winfrey, like hands down, Queen O. She's incredible. So she does it well, and I'm a big fan of Elena Cardone. I think she's just a legend. I love seeing her, and she resonates a lot for me because I love seeing the warrior queen vibe. For me, because I've got that in me, and so it's really nice to see an example of someone rocking it with that warrior queen vibe. So yeah, they're my examples, but I'm sure other people have their own. Yeah,
amazing. And not to like, what's it? Like three things in my head. We've just had a comment. Nick Downey said, "Hello, beautiful ladies. Nice to see and hear you." So it's like, hey, so good you're online and tuning in. It's really good to hear from you.
So good to see.
Yeah, I know. No, that's awesome. Yeah. What about in government? Do you think we're seeing the kind of leadership that, we're really seeing in perhaps, personal, spiritual, business, conversations? Are we seeing that kind of leadership in government and politics or other places?
I don't know that we're there yet. Don't know that we're there yet.
Yeah.
I don't know we're there yet. Yeah. And I don't know how fast we will get there. I feel like it's probably not my area of expertise to probably comment on politics or government.
Yeah, of course. No, it's okay.
What I do know is that this is the decade we're going to decide if we're going to do it or not. We're not there yet, but we need it to happen in this decade. I think the adjustment needs to happen this decade.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And just to share, because this is the sort of 10th one in the series, is that of everyone I've spoken to, very few people are thinking of our political leaders when I talk about leadership. And that is such a huge reflection on us as a collective, to be honest. It's one of the, if I look at the unspoken trends, is that we are not seeing the leadership we need in the people that are actually leading this planet in terms of our government and our communities and where our collective resources are going. We don't have the leadership that anyone is longing for. And that speaks more about where we're at than anything. But we're seeing the seeds of greatness and like that real calling to arms, as you said, that warrior queen energy, but we're seeing it in other places. So we know it, we recognize it. But it's like, how do we nurture it in more and more environments? So yeah.
I don't know. I think revolutions have always happened from the grassroots. Not in like any, like a lot of them have come from the people saying not anymore, and then the government leadership usually has to go, all right, because they serve the people, but the people are the ones who need to speak up. So that's, I don't.
It's so good. It's so good. It's more like, for me, it was that. For me, it's not a thread I've gone down before. It's just a reflection that really dropped in. Like, it's like, I don't think anyone really covered anything in that domain before. So it's interesting. Okay, so we're going to start and look forward now, and we're going to do the looking forward trends.
Okay.
And first up, what's new and exciting for you in 2020? What's coming?
The insight that came through, and I posted about this the other day, is I've literally been doing the recalibration that is at the end of this completion cycle. Okay, what's next? And that it just literally wrote up, didn't come through me, but it came through me, not from me. I want to teach soul-led entrepreneurship only. And I was like, cool, what does that mean? Soul-led entrepreneurship. And since I've shared that, I've never used that term before, but it's just what came through. I've had people after people going like, thank you. Like, this makes sense. It's the only thing that actually does make sense to me. Soul-led entrepreneurship. So I was like, cool, I'm on the right track here. So it is the idea that you have the blueprint of your business already embedded in your soul. As the leader or the visionary in the business, it's already in your highest potential. So we just need to bring it down into form. And the more, it's like this idea of, if you don't have to compromise it to make money, then that's not working anymore. That's why, if you were compromising it in some way, that's why those, a lot of people saw like things aren't working in their businesses, right? Because that approach isn't going to work anymore if you put the money above the purpose.
Yeah.
The universe is going to support purpose-led businesses, and that includes all ways. And the more that you really, really ground into the essence and the truth of the business, of yourself and what you're here to do in the world, you'll be supported in abundance. And so that's kind of what I want to do, is put the soul at the centerpiece of businesses and that I work with, because that's what the universe is backing, and that's where the resources are going to be sent to. So yeah.
It's just logical investing.
Yeah. Oh, dear me. Yeah.
It's like where the universal funding is going here, everyone's going there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what sort of projects, causes, things, like what are some of the bigger things you're working on or would love to work on over the next decade?
For me, I know, like, I've done a lot of I woke up very early around 2009. I'm like, like Forrest Gump runs out of the forest spiritually, and then I'm all by myself. So I went back in and helped pulling people through. I know it's my job to stay out of it and not take any more 3D bait, as some of the spiritual people are calling it, like not taking the fear bait. There's a lot of fear baiting going on with people, and I know I'm like, no. I'm like, I've done my 10 years doing that stuff. I'm done. I'm in love. I've mapped out the entire pathway for people who are in fear to come out. It's all mapped out. Like, all of the courses that I've built in, is a whole pathway out of it. Fab Mastermind probably being the masterclass. And so I don't need to go in anymore. I can hold the space for people who are ready to step up and step out of it, that I can sort of ground my energy in that. So I'm not giving my energy or my time to anything fear-based anymore, and focusing on keeping my vibe as high as I possibly can, because that is going to hold like a grid for more people rising. The more people we've got in their integrity, in their inner truth, keeping their state as high as possible, the more the grid of humanity is ripe for more people to sort of rise up out of it. So anything that aligns me with love, totally for. And just being very mindful of my intentions, not taking any fear bait in any sort of things, and soul-led entrepreneurship for people who want to build a business based around their soul's true purpose. And anyone who wants, like, if you want the pathway out of fear, I've mapped it out and it's there for you. It's not an easy journey, but it requires courage, and it requires commitment, and it requires your warrior spirit. But if you've got that, then the more people we get rising out of fear, the better for our planet and humanity.
For sure. Sounds like a fun decade. And so yeah. Is this program becoming a larger scale, or is it what's the focus? Where's the not that we're like sitting here like Nostradamus, but it's becoming like the Melanie Claire School of whatever, or is it like your pathway becoming a modality or an experience that's out there, or is it, are you taking it into any projects or givebacks or world tour? Melanie TV, where are we going?
Where are we going with it? The only thing I know is in multi-millionaire status. I know that the rich, basically, unapologetically, this decade is about stepping into multi-millionaire status and then giving back from a place of abundance. Ultimately, in terms of the program with the Fab Mastermind, my intention for that specifically is that it gets in the hands of people who need it. And that's all I've got on it so far. I'm like, I need to honor and what feels good in an energetic exchange with it, because otherwise it's just, if I don't do that, that's buying into fear, and the disempowerment will win. So holding the vibration of what's actually true and being open to it being in the hands of everyone who needs it. That's all I've got on that one so far. In terms of, I think for me, it's definitely more of a balance between the online and in-person stuff. I've been hanging out in the online world for the last few years, and now it's about balancing both. And, I'm here to help people remember who they are. And so I know for a lot of people, and the soul-led entrepreneurship, that's going to be what am I being called to do today? Please show me, please use me, right? And that's going to be, I don't have a clear 10-year mapped out plan. I just got these ideas of where I'm going and that sort of thing. I know it's multimillionaire status. I want to have some babies. I feel the desire
that's a project.
Babies, have some babies.
Just throw them
some
in
human babies, dog babies as well, human babies. And the thing that was the desire that's coming to me is our home. Like I've been happily renting for quite a while, but it feels like it's time to put like the Owen and I having a place to call our own. And so that's what I feel for this year for me, but that's more of a personal thing. But that's the desire that's been coming through in the last few weeks. So.
You're amazing. That's so cool. Well, cannot wait to hear and learn more about any of those things you share. Oh, next piece. Next piece is okay. So we're going to do a bit of the time travel thing. But first off, how old are you now?
34.
34.
So I'll be 44 at the end.
So we're going to go ahead to 2030, and there's 44-year-old Mel.
If I can be like Elena Cardone at 44, that would be the ultimate.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to ask a slightly different question because in a lot of ways, it's not necessarily about what your life looks like at 44. But if you drift ahead to 2030, there's Mel at 44. She's sort of looking and sensing and feeling what's going on in the world around her in those times. And she's going to remember back over that last decade. Okay, and some of the things that happened. What question has been the most important for leaders in that decade?
Okay, cool. As I'm going into it, the first thing I'm feeling is a whole lot of gratitude, not just personally, but globally. Like gratitude. So I get the sense that like as not just me, but humanity, like at the end we're on the right track again. That's the sense that I get. The question that's the most important one, like how can I contribute? How can I serve? How can I make a difference with the highest version of me? Like, how can I contribute? How can I be of service? Yeah.
And how has that question reshaped us?
Instead of a get more for myself mentality, into a service to humanity, humanitarian values mentality, I think. Yeah.
And as you're out there, 44, looking back, remembering, what's the most important leadership trend you saw rising in that decade?
Females owning their power, speaking up, using your raw. Like we've been taught that there's something wrong with using our raw, right? We were freaking made to use our goddamn raw. It's what keeps us, like our raw women, our raw that comes from your the fire in your solar plexus. That raw,
like a lion. I got it. I just caught up my raw. Yeah,
what? It comes from your solar plexus. You know, a lot of women are playing small to keep themselves safe. No, use your raw to keep yourself safe. Yeah, that's where we're going. That's what I see. That's what we need to use. And people aren't going to like it, but we need to use our raw. And that's about that, the coming through the power into the leadership and into expressing in the world. And it doesn't come from fear, but it comes from like that fierce true love. It's like the mum who sees their kid going across the street and they're like, you know, it's not fear, it's that fierce, almost like animalistic love that comes through. But we need to use our raw and remember that every single child on this planet is our children, not just our own.
And as you're out there looking back with that remembering process,
back to that,
back to that. No, because we're still doing that, and it's this weird thing.
Okay.
of being here looking forward, but then being out there and then remembering back. It's helping us build a bridge both ways. So that future of gratitude where we know we're on the right path, the more we can remember from there back to now, the stronger that bridge is.
I see.
Because there's a lot of people sitting here trying to lean forward.
Yeah.
So remembering back, just if I reveal my hidden motive in that whole tactic throughout this whole series.
It's all good.
Is get some of my most powerful humans to build a bridge from the other direction. Yeah. It's not an accident.
Okay, cool. Beautiful.
And as you're seeing and remembering how women were rising with their raw, how did that show up? Like, what kind of ways did we see things differently?
Well, I'm getting the sense more women in leadership positions, 100%, by speaking up for ourselves and using our raw and standing up for what we believe in. It's what's going to get us there. And what was the question?
Just sort of what else happened in that decade as this trend rose? What else
happened? I think a lot of women gaining a lot more respect for our gifts that are sometimes look different, and being listened to and being heard, and bringing that to the table in a way that you know, and I get a lot of slack for saying this, but I don't believe it's about destroying the patriarchy. I don't believe it's about that. I believe it's focusing on our rise, and I knew that the 2019 was about rising. This one's about owning women, owning their power. We've been rising, now we're owning it. And it's about rising into that power and meeting men from a place of love, light, and leadership, and then supporting men to do the same. So it becomes this beautiful balance and harmony between women and men in their own power. Like, it's not about, we do not need to pull anyone else down in order to raise ourselves up. And I think if we can remember that, I think that's going to be really, really important for humanity. So just like for women, you do not need to pull anyone else down in order to pull yourself up. It is not necessary. It is not required. It's part of the same dysfunction if we're hating on men. So just forgiveness, alignment, know that if it is more challenging for women to get to those leadership positions, forgive because they do not know any better, and keep rising, keep owning, keep stepping in, keep speaking up, and keep going. Don't quit.
It's really interesting as you were sharing all through that bit. What I got was one of the effects of owning that raw was the systemic change. Like, you know, it's like, well, we're here ready to speak. We're here ready to speak, but the system stops us, and the thing and like it.
Speak.
It's like,
goddamn.
The systemic change comes through because that's constant on the raw. So it's just I could see that in
because we don't quit in the face of it. Absolutely.
And yes, the systems that we see around us, like, you know, government or whatever, or politics or wage or whatever the things that we think are there, but the undercurrents of systems too, which are the, you know, all the unconscious beliefs about who we are and how we fit into the world, and, you know, who's better than or worse than, or how do we judge our own worthiness, and that those sort of get a bit of an underlying reshaping because of that trend, that
kind
rising
of falling
trend.
Away.
The old patterns sort of falling away and sort of new anchors landing into those bigger patterns. Amazing.
Absolutely. Cool.
Well, that was
when in doubt, use your raw. Finish anything. When in doubt, raw. If you feel something funky, raw. Like, that's the thing. And I noticed it. We've started practicing it. Anytime something feels, I'm like, oh, raw. Go to. And it doesn't matter what you say. It matters that it comes from that place. So for women,
that's not anger.
When in doubt, it's not anger. No, power for women feels very close to anger. It does. You kind of like it. You got to go through the anger to get to your power as a woman. So when you go through it, it feels it's similar to it, but it's not the same thing. And it's not coming from a place of angry, which is disempowered. It's coming from a place of, I'm worth it because this doesn't feel right to me. Like it's different, slightly different, but different. A little tangent and riff at the end there.
I love the little tangent riff. That's like half the purpose here, is to bring in the exact moments that need to be spoken. So
yeah.
That is the last question in that sort of sequence. But we'll just end with is there anything else on your heart, to really share and complete, and that you really want to bring out as part of your 2020 download?
2020 download, it's safe to trust what's true for you. And I know that hasn't been and I can't speak as well to men as I can to women, but I know it's been true for women. And I think it's also true for men in expressing their feelings. Like it hasn't been safe for men to express their feelings, right? And it hasn't been safe for women to use their voice and use their power. And I think that it is, even if stuff is happening in the world around you, it is now safe. Yeah. It is safe for men to share their feelings, and it is now safe for women to use their roar and step into their power.
So funny. My intuition's saying there's another question. It's quite weird.
Okay, right, let's settle into it. I can feel something too. I'll settle into it.
What shadow do you think will be the hardest for us to overcome in the next decade?
Nice one. The shadow. Trying to think of what's the best way to put it into words. The shadow that will be the most difficult to overcome. Yeah, I'm getting, the ego obviously, but the ego is the shadow. So significance is coming to me. The shadow of significance. Oh, okay. The shadow work that a lot of people are doing, which there is people in shadow work that it's like a shadow career for them, in that they think they're being of service, but it's really coming from significance. And the significance is the need to feel important. And so we must, you are important because you're born. You don't need to do something to achieve significance. That would be the thing. So the shadow of significance, even in sort of service-based work, I think is going to be a difficult one for a lot of people to overcome, because I know I've seen it when in the past, when I've been like a few years ago working with someone and I said, letting go of significance, it was like, like this. I was like, whoa, okay, we're really attached to significance here. So it was like that real fierce, don't even go there with me, honey, kind of attachment.
Yeah.
So significance in shadow work.
Like that idea of like, we have to do something to matter. And if we don't do something, then we don't matter. And
we don't matter.
That one's super deep.
Yep. When we realize that we matter because we are here, and that the greatest contribution that you will have on the planet is your presence. Your presence is enough. You being here is enough, right? Then you are free to be of service, and I mean real service. So that is the shift in perspective that I think it's a challenging one to let go of, but when we do, it's a whole nother level of service that we're here to create in the world.
That's perfect way to end that. I love that one. Well, thank you so much for jumping on tonight or your morning, and thank everyone that's tuned in or watching through the replay. I'm really, really grateful for this. It's been an incredible series. And if you've had any questions or comments or thoughts throughout it, would love you to drop them in. How can people, connect with you more or follow you, Mel? Is it just the usual Facebook following, or How do we find more about you?
Yes, basically, I'm on all the socials, and on Instagram, I do a cycles of the moon process, and in my Facebook group, the High Vibe Collective, I do a little intention setting with the cycles of the moon, and also a book club. And yeah, socials wherever you like to hang out. Facebook, yeah, Sam probably linked me in there, or Instagram, if you prefer to hang out on Instagram. They're probably the places where I'm most active. Yeah. And yeah, from there you'll be able to see all that I do and offer, and can connect in ways that you feel inspired to.
Amazing. Thanks so much, and all the best for an amazing decade ahead.
Yes, you too. Thank you, Sam. It's been a pleasure. And sending love in all the ways that I can, energy, time, and resources to what you guys are going through down there. So
yeah. Thanks so much. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.